Good evening, Wolfpack Nation. I am your host, Chris Paolo of the Wolfpack Sports Network here on YouTube. And tonight we will be looking at and taking a deep dive into the big news coming out of Alabama tonight that Kalen DeBoer, the now former Washington Huskies head coach, is going to be the next head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide football team. Before we do that, however, if you like the content, want to subscribe, make sure to do so down below. Hit the like button to continue to grow the channel. You can also follow me over on Twitter at WolfpackSN as well, where we will be tweeting out all of videos. You can get notified of when a video posts that way as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this, man. This news was quick. Nick Saban just retired 2 nights ago. We talked about that in our previous video yesterday about his retirement. And of course, it came out today that, as you see here, Washington's Kalen DeBoer and Alabama agreed to a head coaching contract. Tonight, no news yet that I have seen at the time of this recording on what the contract entails, per se. But according to Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports, Alabama will reportedly owe Washington approximately $12 million to buy out DeBoer's deal with the Huskies. He says that Dellinger says that, combined with DeBoer's likely $10 million plus salary, will make this an incredibly expensive move from the Crimson Tide. A commitment that he's saying is near or over $100 million, which is a lot of money. But when you're Alabama and you're the biggest football program in the country, you have the funds and resources, and you have the ability to raise the funds needed for such a contract. So, Ross Dellinger also reported Washington officials spent more than 2 months in discussions with the board's representatives on a new contract, with the last offer standing at $9+ million a year for 7 years. But again, at the end of the day, I mean, if you had the choice of being the head coach of Washington and the head coach of Alabama, and those were both viable options, you probably want to choose Alabama. I said in the video last night that Saban's shoes are going to be really, really big to fill. I mean, if you scroll down here, the board takes over a program with championship or bust expectations every single season, which is a lot of pressure, especially when you're coming from a program like Washington that doesn't have those expectations every year, right? I know he just took them to the national championship game the other night, but Washington doesn't have that history or that legacy as a football program that Alabama does, right? Nick Saban won 6 national championships with Alabama. Before that, they won several more under Bear Bryant before him. So it's going to be a tough, very tough challenge for DeBoer. I'm sure he's aware of that. Knowing college football and being a head coach at a Power 5 school, I'm sure he definitely understands the pressure of being the Alabama head coach, especially in a conference like the SEC, where you got Georgia in there, Florida, even at a down program right now, just still in there. Tennessee's back on the rise. Ole Miss and Missouri just came off of very good seasons, in which they both won their bowl games. It's going to be a tough challenge, and I'm honestly surprised that it took this. Let me reword that. I'm surprised that it took this quick for Alabama to decide that DeBoer's the guy. When DeBoer took over Washington in 2022, remember this too. The Huskies were 4-8 the season before, and he took over a program that had gone from being a successful program, competing in the college football playoff years prior to being a bad program. And then he goes there, turns them around, gets them to an 11-2 record first year, and then this past season, they go 13-1 or 14-1 or whatever the record was, and being the runner-up. So, but I'm gonna be honest, even with the immediate success he had, the fact that he's only been the head coach of a Power 5 program for 2 years, I think it's going to be tough on him. And be honest with you, I don't think Alabama may have made the right move with his hiring. I think, there was a lot of great candidates out there. And I guess they made the decision because a lot of the other candidates that they were looking at, like a Mike Norvell, a Dan Lanning, a Steve Sarkisian, all came out and committed to the programs they were staying the head coach of. But I felt like, if anything, Alabama probably should have waited it out a couple more weeks to make a decision fully on the board, to see if anybody else came up, to see maybe if they could convince Lane Kiffin to come back. I know that's something I mentioned in the video yesterday. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this dude has two seasons at the Power 5 level. I know he was just very successful at Sioux Falls when he was the head coach there. I think he won like 3 national championships or 4 national championships when he was the head coach there. Was the runner-up in another one. But then he bounced around the coordinators at different places. I think he was the offensive coordinator at Indiana when Michael Penix was the quarterback there. Then he gets to Fresno State, which is a group of 6 program, or group of 5 now program. Had the COVID year, went 9-3, his second year there, gets the Washington job, and like I just mentioned, he went 25-3 in his 2 seasons there. But it's going to be a tough challenge. If I was on the board side, I would take the job. But if I'm Alabama, I'm kind of a little surprised that they will go with somebody who only has 2 years of Power 5 level head coaching experience to follow in the footsteps of a Nick Saban type coach. Because remember, Nick Saban had a bunch of success at Michigan State and LSU when he was hired as the Alabama coach. I know he was coming off a stint in the NFL that didn't work out at the time, but I mean, Nick Saban had led LSU to a national championship win and major bowl games. He had led Michigan State to the most success they've had in their program up to that point. So I mean, we'll see what happens. It's definitely wasn't surprising, but it's definitely something that it's going to be, again, big shoes to fill. If you are Kalen DeBoer, I wish him nothing but the best of luck in his tenure there at Alabama, and we'll see. It's a brand new era in college football, with the whole NIL and everything too. We'll see how he does with that. I mean, he's got huge opportunity here with recruiting. It's going to be probably a much bigger level than Washington. He's going to be competing in the SEC instead of the Big Ten, and coaching for Alabama, he's got all the resources now possible. The most resources you probably have at any NCAA college football program. So, it's only interesting. It's again, I'm surprised it took this. It didn't take this. I'm surprised it went through this quick. But we'll see what happens. Anyways, guys, if you like the content, again, make sure you subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment too. Let me know what you guys think about the hire. Do you think it's a good hire? Do you think it's a bad hire? And let me know. We'll definitely have to have a debate on that sometime in the future. I'll definitely should you again subscribe. I will try to have a video out tomorrow. Going over my picks, my predictions for the wild card weekend in the NFL. It's a huge, huge weekend. We're probably going to have a lot more stuff to talk about later on in the weekend. All right, guys. So without further ado, I'll see y'all later. Have a good night.